So I'm Nick, the one of the chairs of the Blues and Barbecue Planning Committee. Today we're chatting with some of our Blues Committee members to get the scoop on what goes on behind the scenes. Right now, I'm joined by David Moore, who helped found the festival in what was that? Was that 2007, Dave?
I'll believe you. I believe that's correct.
So the question we've been asking folks is how did they first get involved in Blues and Barbecue. So I think the real question for you is how did Blues and Barbecue get involved in you?
I think the easiest explanation is I think they wanted my wife to do it, and then they got me. Is usually how the story goes. No, it was Laura Burgess. It was Tracy McCauley, and we were at I can't think of the name of the restaurant right now. Doesn't matter. Sat down, and they were looking to do an event to celebrate the opening of the new park at Liberty Park. It had just won an award. It was just going to open, so they wanted to do a little. Not groundbreaking, but something to celebrate the moment.
Grand opening, yeah.
Hey, let's go with that. Grand opening. And yeah, I thought about putting stuff together. I was on the Telecommunications Commission at the time, so I had a connection there with Laura. And yeah, we just kind of went back and forth and we talked and one day event came to mind and something fun for the kids and families can come out and come see the park, walk around the park, see it. The area wasn't even developed yet. I think we actually had it at what is now Poncheros.
I think it would have been. I think it might have been south of that. What's now maybe Bluebird, right? Because wasn't it just south of the bank?
We were sprawling. Let's put it that way. So Veach, and then we were actually across the street as well of Cherry. We took up like part of that as well. So we sprawled. It was. It took like an hour to walk around, but.
And so folks are used to, right? We've got that nice big stage. We've got lots of inflatables. We've got like miles and miles of tents. What was that first year? What do you remember that first year looking like?
The most absurd amount of residential extension cords you've ever seen in your entire life, strewn for miles. The joke was I literally almost set the grass on fire because we were like running 300 feet of cord to run like a cooker. It was we had one tent, we had a stage.
It's a small stage too.
It was a very small stage. We didn't have lights. Our sound guy didn't think we were going to go into the night. So that's a funny story with Retro. But yeah, they had to call a friend to bring in lights because we didn't have any lights for the nighttime headliner and. We had. I mean, we won. We won the day. We expected 200 people. Like 2,000 showed up.
So it's been learning opportunities. Is through over the years. Is what you're saying.
This is a prime example of what it means by trial and error. There cannot be a better explanation of organically grown trial and error festival. I dare anybody to find anything for it. So nobody was professional. Nobody knew what we were doing. We were just kind of figuring it out and. That sounds like fun. Let's try that.
A true community event.
Sure. Let's go with
that. And so over the years, we've talked before about how each year we've tried to take on something new, right? Try to solve a new problem. Can you think of so what are some of those things that we've tackled and added on and adapted to over the years that you can think of, Dave?
Yeah, I think the adaptation part. I mean, we made a rule every year. We're going to get rid of something and add something. So what wasn't working? Let's set that aside. What's something else we can bring in? Whether it be different bands, different music, or in particular, we switched one year to the big one was craft beer. We wanted to go to like all Iowa everything. We already had Iowa music and Iowa food. How could we do like Iowa beer type deal? Another one was just playing with like fishing. Fishing was hard, on our logistical side. People enjoyed it, but it was hard for us on the logistical side. So I remember shutting that. People didn't want to do the dunk tanking more because it really hurt their back. So we dumped that one year. So there's a myriad of reasons why we would do what we do, but it was always a good conversation. We always talked after the event and what went well, what didn't, what would be fun or. For the first years, we kept moving. We never had the same location as well. So we kept kind of migrating around Liberty Center there before our new Centennial Park location. But we kept, every year we'd be something different because we had different layout, different size. We had only, smaller space, trying to do more and more things. Yeah. We became bigger, so parking was an issue. So trying to find a place to park and upset neighbors and fireworks was a big discussion. Still is this day. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, that was kind of the part of the fun of it. It was problem solving and figuring that out, and a lot of it was day of.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of it was purposeful as well. We wanted to stay. We didn't want to stay too stale. We wanted to make sure people were happy, and for me, it was keeping people who were part of it, who were volunteering. They were engaged and they felt part of it, and they had ownership of it, and their ideas were heard and brought forth.
So one of my favorite changes is when we first adapted from the very small rollout stage to like a professional stage.
No. It was the next after that when we paid somebody to put the stage up.
That was my favorite part.
That was my favorite part.
That was my favorite part, is when we finally realized that we should just pay somebody to build the stage. I feel like I still have sunburn from the Friday that we spent trying to build that stage, not knowing what we were doing. We had a very frustrated professional overseeing us.
Yes.
We did pay somebody to tell us what we were doing wrong. And they told us a lot of things we were doing wrong. So that worked out just fine at the end. But yes, paying somebody who knows what they're doing to set up a stage, it goes a lot faster, for sure. So when do you start thinking about Blues and Barbecue, right? Like, it happens in July, and when do you start thinking about the next year?
Yeah, well, that's evolved. I mean, drastically since the beginning, because we would kind of start. Yeah, I remember it started earlier and earlier when we started realizing we weren't seeking sponsorships at the right timeline. That was the first indication, like, hey, we're not doing this right, because we were coming in after people were doing their budgets and everything else, and we talked to a few people, like, hey, if you came to us in the fall, that would be a whole lot easier with us to kind of get you in the budget. You plan to give our sponsorship. And that was the first time that we kind of got a little bit more professional, a little bit more legit, I think, is when we started to kind of think of, okay, obviously this thing was never meant to be a yearly thing, and as it became a yearly thing and the budget got bigger, we needed more money, more sponsorships. That was the time we started thinking a little bit more seriously and planning ahead. And we always did a post festival, little meet and greet and thank you. We talked about it. We thanked everybody for help. But then it was kind of light dormant into the winter. Yeah, my roles drastically changed with you and Jillian heading it up now. But mine usually in the springtime and winter is kind of starts where it kicks in and starts thinking about it. We start thinking about bands. We start thinking about music and how we want to do things, and we start talking about even big changes. I think are kind of done and completed by that time. But sponsorship wise, you guys are kind of running that show well in the beginning of the fall there, so, and even sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it's solving those issues earlier and earlier. I think is something that we've all gotten much better at, and I mean, some of it is we've learned where those trouble spots are, and being able to predict them and plan around them. So that's been
and that's been the key part for you guys. I mean, in the professionalism, since you and Jillian have come along, I think the professionalism is exceeded greatly. Just A, you have more time, of course, but B, the way you handled it and the way when you start and how you deal with sponsors and vendors and such, and the right people and the timing of things. And before we would just like, we can sell the day of type deal, where obviously we're more preemptive now. I think we also have a good system now, comparatively speaking to 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. We have a much better system now where we do little tweaks, little small dial switches. We're not doing a big overhaul. We're not changing a bunch of things. So.
Except for this year, where we've just planned to not have an event and do everything virtually. So, I mean, we got rid of everything, and we brought all new stuff on board this year.
Yeah.
So David, let's wrap up here. What do you want to hear next, right after this?
It'd be hard, like I said, it'd be hard to go against BF Bird. That dude's been since day one for us and been extremely reliable and helpful, and he did interviews. He's done everything for us. So. Thank you by BF Burr would be, I think, appropriate to say the least.
Absolutely.
For an outro song.
You got it, Dave. Thanks so much for chatting today.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Bye.